The Ramayana, an ancient Indian epic. Written by Shreyas Pillai and Ayur Pillai. Narrated by Shreyas Pillai and Ayur Pillai.
Prologue. Ravana, the king of the demons, had been praying continuously for 10 whole years to Brahma, the creator of the universe. Finally, Brahma appeared before him. "Your penance has come to fruition. Ask what you will." Ravana stood up respectfully. "O Lord Brahma, please grant me invincibility from gods, demons, and all divine beings." Brahma raised his hands in blessing. "So be it." Many years later, panic had spread through the ranks of the gods. The arrogant Ravana, corrupted by his invincibility, had slowly turned evil. The gods pleaded with Brahma to retract his boon. "Even I cannot undo what has been done. Only Vishnu, the preserver of the universe, can help us now."
Chapter 1. The Princes of Ayodhya.
Thousands of years ago, in ancient India, the vast kingdom of Kosala stretched from the Himalayas in the north to the river Sarayu in the south. The mighty King Dasharatha, a descendant of the sun god himself, ruled Kosala from his impregnable capital, Ayodhya.
He was respected for his fairness. His army struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. King Dasharatha, a man of great valor and bravery, had helped even the gods in their battles with the evil demons. The king was married to 3 beautiful queens. Queen Kausalya, the eldest, was liked by all for her grace and compassion. Queen Sumitra's face radiated with elegance, wisdom, and poise. The youngest and most strikingly beautiful queen, Kaikeyi, was the king's favorite. Her composure and wit captivated King Dasharatha.
Many years passed, but the king's wish for an heir remained unfulfilled. The aging king sought the advice of his esteemed royal counselor, sage Vibhishana, who was well versed in statecraft and religious rituals. Sage Vibhishana advised,
"O king, please perform a yaga. These special ritual prayers have the power to invoke Lord Vishnu, the preserver of the universe. Kosala will surely be blessed with an heir."
Heeding Vibhishana's advice, the royal family performed the yaga in front of a large holy fire. While the king and the queens were immersed in the ritual prayers, the fire suddenly leapt 100 feet high. Agni, the god of fire, appeared in his blazing orange robes and held out a glowing golden vessel.
"O King Dasharatha, give the sacred nectar to your 3 queens, and your wishes will be fulfilled."
His regal voice boomed as his form faded away.
There was great excitement in the air as the queens eagerly took their share of the nectar. After 9 months, the day King Dasharatha had been longing for finally arrived. Queen Kausalya gave birth to Rama, the eldest prince. Soon after, Queen Sumitra gave birth to 2 princes, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Queen Kaikeyi gave birth to Prince Bharatha. Across the land, the people of Kosala sang, danced, and exchanged sweets to celebrate the birth of their princes. Chapter 2. A School for the Princes.
Like lion cubs, The little princes played, hunted, and fought in the palace and its gardens. From the balcony of his royal court, King Dasharatha looked fondly at his princes. He turned to say Vasishta.
My boys are turning 11 soon. The time has come for them to follow the customs of our dynasty. For the next 7 years, they must go to an ashram and live the life of students. For your decades of penance, prayers, and practice, Sage Vasishta, you are widely regarded as the wisest sage of them all. Please take them to your ashram.
Sage Vasishta smiled.
It is my privilege. We will teach the princes our holy scriptures, the Vedas. They will learn statecraft and the many responsibilities of leaders. Our teachers will train them in archery, horse riding, and the art of war. Your dynasty, King Dasharatha, will thrive.
From his ashram in the forest, Sage Vasishta would send messages on the prince's progress to King Dasharatha.
Lakshmana is proving to be an expert archer, but he is quick to lose his temper.
The sage reported.
Bharatha has an innate sense of right and wrong. He does naturally only that which is right. I am sure he will earn the respect of the people of Ayodhya. Shatrughna is a fierce warrior. He will strike terror into the hearts of his enemies. In the eldest, Rama, I see Lord Vishnu himself. The other princes and my fellow sages respect him as though he was their leader. Chapter 3. Princes put to the test.
Having completed their training, the princes returned to Ayodhya to a joyous welcome. One day, a royal courier hurried into the king's court.
Your Majesty, the great sage Vishwamitra has arrived. He requests an audience.
The king turned to his counselor, Sage Vasishta, who after some deliberation cautiously advised.
Please welcome the great sage Vishwamitra with due honor. He is a wise sage and one who should be respected. His visit is an auspicious occasion for Ayodhya.
As Sage Vishwamitra entered the royal court, the king rose from his throne and addressed him.
O great sage, you have blessed my kingdom with your presence. Welcome to Kosala.
Vishwamitra smiled.
Your kind words befit your dynasty. I have come to seek your help. It is my privilege to be of assistance to you. Please ask without hesitation. Your request will be fulfilled, whatever it may be.
King Dasharatha replied graciously.
The demon Maricha and his soldiers are threatening my ashram. They are desecrating the ritual prayers that I perform for the good of mankind. Please send Rama and Lakshmana with me to defeat Maricha and protect my ashram.
The sage requested, to Dasharatha's surprise.
Rama and Lakshmana? They are just boys.
Dasharatha replied anxiously.
I can send my most experienced general. If you wish, I can slay the demons myself.
Sage Vishwamitra was unmoved.
Please send the boys with me, or I shall be on my way.
At this, Sage Vasishta comforted the king.
King Dasharatha, it is natural for you to worry about the prince's safety. However, this is their destiny, set out by the gods. The princes will benefit greatly from this experience.
Having given his word, and only too aware of Vishwamitra's terrible temper, the king reluctantly agreed.
Respected sage Vishwamitra, my sons will help you protect your ashram.
Over the hills and through the forest, the boys followed the sage. When they reached Vishwamitra's ashram, Rama and Lakshmana created a protective ring of fire above the ritual site. The next day, Vishwamitra and his disciples began their prayers as Rama and Lakshmana kept vigil. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to shake, and the birds flew out of their nests, screeching their angry warnings. With blood-curdling screams, the demon Maricha and his horde of demons burst out from behind the trees.
Throw meat and bones at the ritual fire. Do not let them complete their prayers,
he ordered. But Rama's protective shield of fire burnt the meat to ashes. Enraged, the demons attacked Rama and Lakshmana, but the princes were well prepared. They rained 1,000 arrows at the demons. Caught by surprise and unable to withstand the princes' valiant attacks, the demons beat a hasty retreat. Vishwamitra and his disciples completed their ritual prayers successfully. The ashram would be protected from the demons forevermore. The sage was overjoyed.
You have done a great service to mankind. I will teach you the invocations for the most powerful weapons in the universe, including the ultimate weapon of all, the Brahma Astra. I will teach you how to use them in times of war. Many a time have I defeated demons with these almighty weapons. From now, it is your duty to use them for the good of mankind. This will make Rama invincible,
the sage thought to himself.
Chapter 4. The Swayamvara.
Near sage Vishwamitra's ashram was the kingdom of Mithila, ruled by the renowned King Janaka. The king's ancestors had been chosen as the custodians of the great bow of Lord Shiva, the god of destruction.
The legendary bow was known throughout the three worlds of gods, humans, and demons. It was impossibly heavy to lift, and even among the gods, only Lord Shiva had ever strung it.
Vishwamitra led Rama and Lakshmana to King Janaka's palace to see the magnificent bow. To the prince's surprise, but not Vishwamitra's, they found the king had organized a Swayamvara, a contest to find a suitable prince for his beautiful daughter, Princess Sita.
Kings and princes from far and wide gathered in King Janaka's court to try to win Sita's hand in marriage.
Sita walked gracefully down the steps and took her place next to the king. The great hall fell silent as the gathered royals sat transfixed. Is she a princess?
They wondered.
Or is she a goddess, sat here gracefully amongst us mortals?
I feel as though I've known her for an eternity,
Rama thought to himself, as his gaze fell upon Sita. There, in the middle of the great hall, stood Lord Shiva's bow.
A young Sita had once playfully lifted this majestic bow, to the astonishment of everyone in our palace,
King Janaka declared.
Only the man who can string the great bow of Shiva is a worthy suitor for my daughter.
A stunned silence fell over the hall. This was going to be an impossible feat. One after the other, the princes and kings tried their luck. Not one could even lift the bow, let alone string it. Not even Ravana, the mighty 10-headed demon king of Lanka, could move the bow an inch. Ravana felt utterly humiliated when he saw the other princes laughing in disdain.
Come what may. One day, Sita will be mine.
He muttered to himself, darkly. Sage Vishwamitra turned to Rama with pride.
Rama, the time has come for you to string the greatest bow on earth. All eyes were on Rama as he strode towards the bow. Sita's eyes lit up. She whispered to herself,
I feel as though I've always known Rama. I hope he'll be able to lift a bow.
Rama stood before the bow and folded his hands in prayer. With what seemed like divine poise, he lifted Shiva's bow and tied the string, to the amazement of the gathered princes. Ravana watched Rama enviously, his eyes searing with hatred.
King Janaka's face beamed with happiness.
My dear daughter, Prince Rama of Ayodhya, is indeed a worthy suitor.
Sita gave her father a shy, approving look.
Brahma Rishi Vishwamitra, I am eternally grateful to you for making this momentous occasion possible. May I invite King Dasharatha to grace our kingdom. I will request his blessing for the marriage of Prince Rama to my dear Princess Sita.
Vishwamitra welled up with pride for Rama.
Of course, King Janaka. Do invite King Dasharatha as soon as possible.
King Dasharatha and the three queens were overjoyed when they heard the good news. Thousands of people from Mithila attended the wedding of Rama and Sita.
Look at Prince Rama and Princess Sita. They look divine together.
Cheered the people of Ayodhya as the royal chariot paraded through the streets.
Musicians played melodious festive tunes on their flutes, and the air of Ayodhya seemed fresh with the hope of a great future. Chapter 5. The Heir to the Throne.
10 years flew by. The aging King Dasharatha had become increasingly reliant on his sons to rule Kosala. He felt the time had come to coronate his much-loved Rama.
He summoned his ministers to seek their counsel on the crowning of Rama as King of Kosala.
Kosala will continue to prosper under Rama's rule, exclaimed the ministers in one voice. Sage Vasishtha was overjoyed upon hearing the king's decision.
King Dasharatha, let there be no delay in crowning Rama. The time is right.
King Dasharatha's happiness knew no bounds. He could not wait any longer to see his beloved Rama crowned as the king. The following morning, the king called for Rama. Upon seeing his young, handsome son, he gave him a fatherly hug.
Rama, my dear son, I am getting old. I want to see you crowned King of Kosala.
With respect, love, and gratitude for his father, Rama humbly replied,
Father, it is an honor. I will try to follow in your footsteps.
The three queens were delighted to hear the news of Rama's coronation. There were celebrations all over Ayodhya. Yet, trouble was brewing in an unexpected place.
Chapter 6. Manthara and Kaikeyi.
The old hunchback, Manthara, had been Queen Kaikeyi's matron since her childhood. She had looked after Prince Bharatha too since his birth and was very possessive of him. When she heard of Rama's impending coronation, she rushed anxiously to Queen Kaikeyi's chambers.
My dear queen, how can you allow Rama to be crowned king? Bharatha would be a far better king than Rama.
Queen Kaikeyi was bemused. Calm down, Manthara. I love Rama like my own son. At this, Manthara became even more frustrated.
Remember, my dear queen, if Rama becomes king, Kaushalya will become the most important queen. And you will always have to follow her orders.
Manthara went on to instigate Kaikeyi.
Remember, when King Dasharatha married you, he was childless. He promised your father that he would crown your son king of Kosala. How dare he dishonor the promise he made to your father?
But Manthara, Rama and Bharatha love each other as brothers.
Have you lost your motherly instincts? Don't you know, when it comes to the throne, there are no brothers, only rivals.
Slowly but surely, Manthara's words poisoned Queen Kaikeyi's mind. Manthara, perhaps I've been too naive. How do we ensure Bharatha is crowned king? Is it not already too late? Manthara's face broke into a crooked smile.
Do you not remember? You saved King Dasharatha's life on the battlefield all those years ago. He granted you 2 wishes, did he not? And you, my wise queen, you have asked him for nothing yet. Now is the time. Ask him to crown Bharatha king, and to exile Rama to the forest for 14 years. Only if Rama is gone will Bharatha be the true king.
Finally, Kaikeyi was convinced. It is my duty to ensure Bharatha is coronated.
Chapter 7 The Two Boons. All the arrangements had been made for Rama's coronation. King Dasharatha hastened to his favourite part of the palace, Queen Kaikeyi's enchanting chambers. In his mind's eye, he could see her beautiful face, illuminated with pride and joy.
To his shock, he found her lying on the bed, dishevelled and sobbing inconsolably. Unsure of what had happened, he tenderly placed his arms around her shoulders.
My dear Kaikeyi, you look unwell. Between sobs, the queen blurted out.
Why would I be happy? My life has lost all meaning now.
The old king was baffled. My dear queen, I have never seen such sadness in your beautiful eyes. What makes you so unhappy? Queen Kaikeyi looked away, still sobbing.
Remember, you had granted me 2 boons when I saved your life on the battlefield. I want to ask for them now. Promise me you will grant them.
Without a second thought, King Dasharatha replied fondly. A king of the Sun dynasty always stands by his word. Ask what you will. In a cold voice, Queen Kaikeyi spelled out her demands.
I want Bharatha to be crowned king.
The king was speechless.
And I want Rama to be exiled to the forest for 14 years.
Dumbfounded and unable to comprehend what he had just heard, the old king pleaded. My dear Kaikeyi, you have always loved Rama as much as Bharatha. Why these wishes now? Ask for anything else, and it will be yours. Kaikeyi remained adamant.
You promised my father that my son Bharatha would be king.
For hour after hour, the king begged her to change her mind, for he knew he was bound by his word. Yet she would not relent. The dejected king gave in at last. I promise to crown Bharatha king. But please, take back your second wish. The forest is no place for Rama. Kaikeyi would not give in to the king's pleas.
Rama must be exiled. That is my desire.
A heartbroken Dasharatha stumbled back to his chambers. He felt his world crashing down around him. In shock and ashamed of his plight, he thought to himself, "My dear son Rama, how will you forgive your father?" Chapter 8. Dasharatha's Heartbreak.
The king sent his most trusted courtier to bring Rama to his chambers. As he entered his father's grand chambers, Rama could not believe the sight that met his eyes. His beloved father, the king of Kosala, had become a crumpled shell of a man. Noticing his son's footsteps, Dasharatha could not hide his anguish.
Rama, my dear son, great misfortune has befallen us. Before you were born, I had granted Kaikeyi 2 wishes. That evil woman, she now demands that I crown Bharatha king. And worse, she demands that I exile you, my son, to the forest for 14 years.
Surprised and shocked, Rama said nothing for a few minutes, but soon he regained his composure.
Do not despair, father. As a prince of the Sun dynasty, it is my duty to fulfill every promise you have made. I am willing to go to the forest to fulfill Mother Kaikeyi's wishes. Ever since I was a student at Sage Vasishta's ashram, I have loved the forest.
When Lakshmana got wind of Kaikeyi's demands, he rushed to Rama.
Brother Rama, let me punish that evil woman Kaikeyi, for she has sinned against you, against our dynasty, and against the people of Kosala. Lakshmana, we must not be angry at Mother Kaikeyi. Behind all these events lies our destiny. There will be exciting adventures awaiting me in the forest. In that case, Rama, I will go with you,
declared Lakshmana.
My dear Lakshmana, you must stay here and look after our mothers. They need you.
Rama pleaded.
My destiny is to stay by your side at all times. I will go with you.
After trying in vain to persuade his brother, Rama finally relented.
Lakshmana, please convey your decision to Mother Sumitra.
Back at Dasharatha's chambers, Rama reassured the king.
Father, everything happens for a reason. Bharatha will be a great king of Kosala. Of that I am certain.
Rama gently conveyed the news to Sita.
My dearest Sita, in my absence, please look after the 3 queens. Their well-being is of utmost importance to me.
Sita looked at Rama with a mixture of surprise, sadness, and admiration. As your wife, it is my duty and right to accompany you wherever you go. Do take me with you.
Rama tried to dissuade her too.
I cannot stay here in the palace while you are in the forest.
Sita persisted softly but firmly until Rama gave in. Too soon it was time to leave. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana bid farewell to King Dasharatha, Queen Kausalya and Queen Sumitra, who were filled with anguish. Rama respectfully bid goodbye to a cold and triumphant Queen Kaikeyi. As they left the city, hundreds of people followed them as far as they could, overwhelmed with sorrow.
At the palace, King Dasharatha seemed not to notice the difference between day and night. His health deteriorated with each passing moment. Unable to bear life without his sons, The grief-stricken king breathed his last, still calling out,
Rama, Lakshmana.
Chapter 9 Bharatha.
Bharatha and Shatrugna were visiting Queen Kaikeyi's parents, entirely unaware of the tragic events that had unfolded in Ayodhya. They were surprised to receive urgent summons asking them to return immediately. As they reached Ayodhya, Bharatha had a sense of foreboding.
Shatrugna, why does Ayodhya look so gloomy?
I have the same feeling. It looks very uninviting,
muttered Shatrugna. Bharatha was quickly ushered into Queen Kaikeyi's chambers. She rushed to meet him.
My dear son, I have terrible news. Your father has passed away to his heavenly abode.
Bharatha was shocked. Kaikeyi's eyes shone triumphantly.
Bharatha, my son, I have secured the kingdom for you.
Bharatha's voice quivered with grief. How can this be, mother? Where is Rama? Upon hearing Rama's name, Kaikeyi's face contorted with rage.
Bharatha, long ago, when the king asked my father for my hand in marriage, he promised that my son would be king. You are the rightful heir to the throne, yet your father decided to coronate his favourite son, Rama. I had to make sure that Rama would never be a threat to you. So I was forced to have him exiled to the forest for 14 years.
Slowly, it dawned on Bharatha. This is why Ayodhya has fallen silent. You are responsible for our father's death. You have brought shame on our dynasty and me. I will never accept the throne. It belongs to Rama alone.
Bharatha stormed out of Queen Kaikeyi's chambers and ordered the royal charioteer to take him to Rama. Deep in the forest, he saw Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita clad in their plain robes. He felt ashamed and guilty for his mother's treachery. Head bowed, hands folded, he approached Rama.
Dear brother, our father is no more. My mother has sinned greatly. Her evil deeds led to our father's death. Please forgive us. Please come back. You are the rightful king of Kosala.
Rama was overcome with grief. He embraced Bharatha gently.
Dear brother, do not blame Mother Kaikeyi. This is our destiny. Now that father is no more, I am even more determined to keep his promise and remain here. My brother, you have always been the righteous one. You must go back to Ayodhya. The people need you. Bring glory and prosperity to our father's kingdom.
Bharatha tried to convince Rama, but he was unmoved. Bharatha vowed,
I never wanted to be king. I will place your wooden sandals on the throne to show the people of Ayodhya that you are their rightful ruler. I will look after the affairs of the kingdom on your behalf. I vow today that you will be crowned king upon your return. Chapter 10 13 years later.
These years in the forest have been good to us, but now I am eager to return to Ayodhya.
Sita said longingly. Rama's eyes filled with affection. You were right, Sita. Life in the forest would have been unbearable without you.
Later that day, the brothers were preparing to go hunting. They had just left their hut when a surprising sight greeted them.
A beautiful maiden was walking up the path towards them. Instinctively, the brothers knew that this must be a demon's trick. The maiden approached Rama.
You are a very handsome man. You must be a king or a prince. I would like to marry you. The brothers looked at each other and decided to play a trick of their own.
I am already married,
said Rama playfully.
Please ask my brother Lakshmana.
Shamelessly, she went up to Lakshmana. Will you marry me, young prince?
Lakshmana was amused. I am here to serve Rama and protect Sita. I cannot marry you.
She rushed towards the hut menacingly. I will kill your Sita, then I can marry this handsome prince, she shrieked.
Forced to draw his sword, Lakshmana cut off her nose to stop her attack. In a flash, the maiden was transformed into her original form, a huge and ugly demoness. Bleeding and humiliated, the demoness ran off into the forest.
She was none other than Shurpanakha, sister of the mighty demon king, Ravana. When Ravana saw an injured Shurpanakha, he was enraged.
Who dared do this, dear sister? I will destroy them.
It was a puny human called Lakshmana, she sobbed, still bleeding. I wanted to marry a handsome prince called Rama and bring his wife Sita to you. Look what those brothers did to me.
Sita? She was always meant to be mine,
said Ravana, remembering the humiliation of years ago. He rushed to his uncle Maricha.
You must help me capture Sita,
he commanded. Maricha advised against the plan.
Don't be deceived by Rama's human appearance. He is the greatest warrior on earth. Rama defeated me when he was a young boy. Your hasty actions can lead to Lanka's destruction.
Rather than listen to Maricha's wise words, Ravana threatened him.
Do as I say, or you shall be put to death. Chapter 11. The Golden Deer. As she did every morning, Sita was gathering flowers from the forest for her prayers, when her gaze fell upon an unbelievably beautiful golden deer.
Rama! Lakshmana! Come!
She cried excitedly.
Look at that beautiful deer. Can you please bring it to me? I will look after it like my own child.
The brothers saw the deer and admired the beauty of the animal. However, at the back of their minds, they felt an unmistakable sense of danger.
Please, Rama, I feel lonely when you're out hunting. I want a pet to take back to Ayodhya. The deer is adorable,
she pleaded until Rama relented. Rama asked Lakshmana to stay with Sita at the hut while he tried to capture the deer. After chasing the deer for a long time through the tangled forest, Rama shot its leg with an arrow. A few seconds later, the air was filled with cries. Lakshmana! Help! Sita! Sita was alarmed.
Lakshmana! Rama's in danger! Please go! Help him immediately!
Lakshmana tried to convince her. Rama is a great warrior. This must be a demon's trick. Do not believe what you hear.
Lakshmana, I know it is my beloved Rama. Please go. Help him.
Lakshmana drew a magic circle around the hut and warned Sita. Please do not step out of this circle under any circumstances. This magic circle, the Lakshman Rekha, will protect you from all evil forces.
Bow in hand, he set off to find Rama. A little later, a holy sage approached the hut.
Lady of the house, could you kindly give me something to eat?
Sensing Sita's reluctance to step outside, he coaxed her on.
We sages do penance and prayers for the good of mankind. We depend on your goodwill and your food to survive. We have renounced home comforts, so I cannot come into your home.
Sita was torn. She was reluctant to cross the Lakshman Rekha, but she was also afraid of inviting the wrath of a holy sage. No sooner had she stepped out of the Lakshman Rekha that, to her horror, the sage turned into the 10-headed demon, Ravana.
In one swift move, Ravana lifted Sita and carried her to his chariot. Meanwhile, in the forest, Lakshmana reached Rama and saw him unhurt. They had been tricked. The brothers raced back to the hut as fast as they could. But Sita was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 12. Jatayu, the brave warrior.
"Let go of me, or Rama will destroy you!"
shouted Sita, anger and hatred etched in her voice. Ravana victoriously drove his flying chariot into the air. She hopelessly tried to free herself, but the demon overpowered her with ease. She screamed,
"Rama, help! Lakshmana, help!"
"You are mine now. That worthless human Rama will never find you. Ha ha ha!" Ravana exclaimed gleefully. He directed the chariot towards Lanka. Sita's mind raced. She started to throw her few jewels to the ground, one after the other.
"I hope Rama finds them."
The chariot flew by a tall tree, disturbing the sleeping Jatayu, the aging king of the eagles. He was startled to hear a woman's cries.
"Rama! Lakshmana! Help!"
Rama, my dear friend King Dasharatha's son? Could that truly be Sita? He wondered, as he flew towards the chariot. He could not believe his eyes. There was Sita in Ravana's flying chariot. When Sita saw Jatayu, her face lit up with a glimmer of hope.
"Dear Jatayu, please convey my plight to Rama. Free me from this demon."
With desperate bravery, Jatayu flew directly at Ravana, attacking with his talons. "Out of my way, you old bird!"
thundered Ravana as his sharp sword sliced Jatayu's wings, sending him tumbling down. Back at the hut, the princes realized their mistake.
Why did we allow ourselves to be tricked by these demons?
Cried Rama in anguish. Lakshmana's voice trembled with fury.
We will slay them, brother, and bring Sita back.
As they picked their way through the dense forest, a trail of blood led them to Jatayu, lying half dead on the ground, crying,
Rama, Rama.
On seeing Rama, Jatayu rasped with his last breath.
Ravana carried Sita away. He flew south towards Lanka. Chapter 13. Hanuman.
Anger and despair flooded Rama's mind.
I cannot protect Sita. I have failed her,
He whispered as they headed south towards Lanka.
Ravana has tricked us. We do not have an army, and I don't know how, but we will destroy him.
Lakshmana reassured his brother. His words lifted Rama's spirits.
We will bring back Sita unharmed.
The brothers were hacking their way through the dense forest when they came upon a clearing. To their surprise, a kindly sage blocked their path. A gentle voice greeted them.
Who are you, young men? You look like princes, clad in hermit's clothes.
When the brothers narrated their tale of woe, the sage promised to help them. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a Vanara, half man, half monkey, with an immensely powerful body and a face that radiated with the energy of the sun.
I am Hanuman, son of Vayu, the god of wind. You are in the kingdom of the honorable King Sugriva, king of the Vanaras. Please allow me to take you to him. Please sit on my shoulders, and I will carry you there.
The brothers looked at each other in astonishment.
Carry us?
As they looked on, a giant shadow covered them both. There stood Hanuman, now as tall as a mountain. Effortlessly, he lifted the princes onto his shoulders and swiftly carried them to Sugriva. Hanuman introduced the princes to his king.
Respected king, I have brought here 2 princes of Ayodhya, Rama and Lakshmana.
King Sugriva greeted them warmly and listened to Rama's story with sympathy.
O Prince Rama, I am an exiled king too. My brother Vali mistakenly believes I usurped his throne and has tried to kill me several times. I had no option but to hide here in the forest, where he cannot come because of a curse. Please help me regain my kingdom. Once I am king, my vast army of Vanaras and I will be at your command. We are half man, half monkey, and all valor. My soldiers are intelligent and know the forest better than anyone else. We can surely defeat Ravana's army and bring back Sita.
For the first time, Rama could see a way to free his Sita from the clutches of the demon. He embraced Sugriva gratefully.
King Sugriva, perhaps the gods have answered my prayers. With your army of Vanaras, we can surely defeat Ravana. Please do tell me, how can I help you defeat Vali? Chapter 14. The Vanara Army. With Rama's help, Sugriva defeated Vali and ascended the throne of Kishkinda. The newly crowned king was true to his word. Dear Rama, you helped me defeat my brother Vali. My army of Vanaras and I are ready for battle. The princes, Hanuman, Sugriva, and his Vanara army marched towards Lanka. Day after day, the army kept up a punishing pace. Finally, they reached the seashore. There, across 100 miles of rough, impassable ocean, they could glimpse the gleaming kingdom of Lanka.
Though he walked confidently by the shore, Rama was crestfallen. He sought counsel with Hanuman, Sugriva, and Lakshmana.
How do we cross this wild sea?
He asked. Sugriva and Lakshmana were at a loss too. When his turn came, Hanuman suggested.
One of our soldiers, Nila, was cursed in his childhood. Whatever he throws into the ocean floats. We can help him throw rocks onto the water, and as they float, we can build a bridge. Let us build a bridge to Lanka and attack.
For 5 long days, the Vanaras worked tirelessly to build a bridge of stones, stretching across the ocean to the shores of Lanka. The next day, war would begin.
Chapter 15. Vibhishana. A messenger brought grave news to Ravana's court.
My lord and master, Rama and Lakshmana with Sugriva's Vanara army have reached Lanka's shores.
He reported worriedly.
Ravana laughed aloud.
A troop of monkeys? Led by Rama and Lakshmana?
The assembled court burst out laughing. Ravana's brother, Vibhishana, stood up.
O King of Lanka, my dear brother,
He pleaded.
the Vanara army, led by Rama and Lakshmana, will be a formidable force. Abducting Sita was a sin. Please allow her to be reunited with Rama. Heed our uncle Maricha's advice. End this war before it brings bloodshed to our doors.
Ravana glared at his brother.
You are a coward and a disgrace to our race.
Ravana's 10 heads swung towards his generals.
Destroy those puny humans.
He ordered. Vibhishana then declared sadly.
I am forced to make a choice between righteousness and sin. I must leave my beloved Lanka. Chapter 16. War begins.
The sound of an approaching army was all that could be heard for miles around. The deafening boom of 10,000 demon screams filled the air.
The Vanara army responded with bone-chilling shrieks. War had begun. The demons advanced arrogantly, attacking with spears and bows and arrows. The Vanaras were well prepared. They threw huge boulders at the demons, crushing many to death. The fighting was fierce. Before long, the stunned demons retreated hastily. Swallowing their fear, they stood before Ravana, shamefaced.
O Lord and Master, many of our soldiers are dead. Ravana was astounded. Each day he sent his army into war, led by one of his many sons. Each day, Rama's army defeated the demons. Ravana's rage boiled over. Many of his own sons had been killed.
Tomorrow, I will lead you into battle,
He roared. The next day, Ravana tore through the Vanara army's defences, reaching all the way to the heavily guarded Lakshmana. The battle between them was long and brutal. The two great warriors were an equal match.
As the sun set, Ravana found his mark. He shot Lakshmana in the chest with an arrow, dipped in poison. The Vanaras quickly closed around the injured prince until darkness fell and they could retreat.
Anxiously, Rama ordered.
Lakshmana is injured. Bring the doctor quickly.
The Vanara doctor had bad news.
The only cure is the juice from the Sanjeevani plant. I'm afraid that it only grows on a hill in the Himalayas.
Sugriva turned to Hanuman.
Son of Vayu, only you can bring the plant in time to save Lakshmana.
Hanuman bowed to Rama and Sugriva. He grew and grew until he was taller than the trees. With a giant leap, he crossed the ocean to the Himalayas.
There are thousands of plants here. Which is the Sanjeevani?
He thought desperately. Wasting no time, he uprooted the entire hill and brought it to Lanka. The doctor found the Sanjeevani plant and gave Lakshmana its life-restoring juice. As dawn broke, Lakshmana stirred. His body was weak, but his eyes blazed defiantly. Overwhelmed with joy, Rama embraced Hanuman.
You have saved Lakshmana's life. From this day, Hanuman, you are my brother too.
A Vanara messenger caught Rama's attention.
A demon wishes to see you. He calls himself Vibhishana, Ravana's brother.
Though Hanuman and Sugriva were eager to attack the demon, Rama advised,
Whoever comes to me to seek my friendship is welcome, even if he is a demon.
A respectful Vibhishana bowed to Rama.
My brother Ravana has sinned greatly by abducting Sita. My conscience forces me to follow the path of justice. I can help you defeat Ravana.
With Vibhishana's help, the Vanaras prepared plans to attack Ravana's army.
Chapter 17. Kumbhakarna the Giant.
Day after day, Rama and Lakshmana decimated Ravana's army with their extraordinary skills with the bow and arrow. At the sight of his soldiers' blood, Ravana's heart filled with rage. He ordered his men to do the unthinkable.
Wake up, my brother! Kumbhakarna!
Kumbhakarna was a giant demon who ate like an elephant. He was awake continuously for half of the year and slept for the other half. Kumbhakarna was considered invincible. He could defeat any army.
Let 100 men blow horns and beat drums until my brother awakens,
commanded Ravana. Furious at the noise the soldiers were making, Kumbhakarna roared.
How dare you wake me up?
Then his eyes fell on the mountain of food they had brought. Gleefully, he gobbled it all up in just a few minutes. Soon, Ravana explained.
Our army is being destroyed by the Vanaras, led by Rama.
Kumbhakarna reassured his brother.
I will teach those monkeys a lesson and bring you Rama's head.
Kumbhakarna stomped onto the battlefield, squashing Vanaras under his feet. Spotting a dead elephant in his path, he picked it up as if it was a toy and flung it at the Vanaras, killing many at a stroke.
When Rama saw the Vanaras scattered and depleted, he decided to fight Kumbhakarna himself. A long and bloody battle ensued.
Rama used many deadly weapons against the giant demon, but to no avail. The day's fighting was drawing to a close. Rama remembered the Aindrastra, which rained hundreds of arrows from the sky.
He shot the deadly weapon at Ravana's brother. It proved too powerful for Kumbhakarna, who fell to his death.
Chapter 18. The Great Battle.
Rama's voice boomed across the battlefield.
Great warriors of Kishkinda! Together, we have annihilated the demon army. Yet the king of Lanka refuses to surrender. Today, we must attack the city and destroy Ravana.
Ravana's heart was brimming with shame, anger, and grief. He roared at his generals.
Put together all of our soldiers and weapons. Today, I will lead the army myself. I will kill that mere human, Rama.
Ravana entered the battlefield on his majestic golden chariot, driven by 8 powerful black horses. It was full to the brim with the whole army's weapons.
Where is Rama? Today he will meet his end.
The epic battle between the two greatest warriors in the universe had begun. Ravana had many magical powers and fearsome weapons. Rama rained deadly arrows at the Demon King's 10 heads, but each time one head was cut off, another one grew back straight away. The fierce battle seemed to rage for an eternity. Rama used many astras, but Ravana's defenses held fast. Ravana invoked Lord Shiva, the destroyer of the universe.
O Lord Shiva, the trident you bestowed on me, may it destroy my enemy today.
He hurled the trident at Rama with great force. Rama had almost no time to react. He was forced to use one of his most powerful weapons, the Agni-astra, the arrow of fire, to destroy the trident in midair. Indra, the king of the gods, was anxiously watching the battle. He sent his chariot to Rama, along with his wise charioteer, Manthara. Rama quickly ascended the chariot under the cover of Lakshmana's arrows.
To destroy Ravana, the enemy of the gods, please use the Brahma Astra and aim it at Ravana's chest.
Manthara whispered in Rama's ear. The Brahmastra was an arrow with the weight of a mountain and the sun's heat at its tip. It travelled with the speed of the wind. No other weapon in the universe could destroy it. The celestial weapon never missed its mark. Rama recalled Vibhishana's invocations.
O Lord Brahma, may the power of the Brahmastra be bestowed on me.
He aimed it at Ravana's chest. The Brahmastra struck Ravana with such enormous force that it pierced his chest, killing him instantly. The Vanara army rejoiced at the sight of Ravana falling to the ground. They wanted to obliterate what was left of the demon army, but Rama intervened.
Show respect to the fallen King Ravana. He was once a great king and always a worthy warrior. Both Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma blessed him for his penance. His power corrupted him, but we should remember him for the king he once was, not the enemy he became. The war is over.
Rama turned to Vibhishana.
Please perform Ravana's funeral rites with the dignity he deserves. Chapter 19 Ayodhya. Hanuman joyfully conveyed the good news of Rama's victory to Sita. Her eyes welled up.
Hanuman, my prayers have been answered at last. I long to see my dear Rama. Please take me to him. On seeing Rama, Sita was overwhelmed with joy. Her voice was filled with happiness. My lord, I always knew you would defeat the evil Ravana. My faith in you gave me courage to face the evil demon. Rama embraced her.
My dear Sita,
He exclaimed.
my dear Sita, it is time to go back to Ayodhya.
Before leaving the defeated Lanka, it was Rama's duty to appoint a new king.
Vibhishana, you are righteous and brave. Your people need you. Please accept the throne of Lanka. To celebrate Rama's victory, Lord Brahma himself sent his magical aerial chariot, the Pushpaka Vimana. It could carry any number of people in any direction at any speed. Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, Hanuman, Sugriva and the Vanara army travelled to Ayodhya in the magical chariot. The people of Ayodhya celebrated the return of Rama, Sita and Lakshmana.
They decorated the entire city with lamps and flowers. Rama and Sita are back, children said happily to each other. How noble is Bharatha! He has looked after Kosala until Rama's return, praised men and women. They wore bright costumes, distributed sweets to each other, and set off fireworks. There was a grand ceremony to mark the coronation of Rama and Sita as king and queen of Kosala.
When it was time for the Vanaras to leave Ayodhya, Rama held Hanuman and Sugriva close. To the assembled Vanaras he proclaimed,
You have helped me greatly in my hour of need. Your bravery is unrivaled. Sugriva is indeed blessed to have this valorous army.
To that, the Vanaras responded with a mighty roar.
Long live Rama! Long live Sugriva! Long live Hanuman! Chapter 20. Rama and Sita.
Rama was an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who came to earth to destroy the evil demon king Ravana. Sita was an incarnation of goddess Lakshmi, consort of Lord Vishnu.
To this day, Hindus all over the world celebrate Diwali, the festival of lights, to mark the return of Rama and Sita to Ayodhya, after Rama's victory over Ravana, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. The end.
The Ramayana, an ancient Indian epic. Retold by Shreyas Pillai and Ayur Pillai. Narrated by Shreyas Pillai and Ayur Pillai. Copyright 2016, Puranas Limited. Production copyright 2016, Puranas Limited.